Story 1. Found out my boyfriend cheated. Now I'm torn between love and moving on. I, female, 25, caught my boyfriend, 22, cheating. This is going to be a long story, but please bear with me. I've always struggled with depression. I've had a lot of ups and downs, but I've come this far. When I met my now ex-boyfriend, I was in a really deep hole, but meeting him made me have a reason to find life exciting again. We started to discover the world in a lot of different ways I never thought possible, since my depression and anxiety always stopped me from trying new things. But with him it was different. I felt brave enough because I had him, and it wouldn't matter what happened because I wasn't alone anymore. We lived together for almost 3 years. We had plans to marry and had kids. Our relationship wasn't perfect. To be honest, it was really hard at times because my depression got worse due to some birth control pills I got prescribed to treat PCOS. I was never told about the side effects that would affect me long term regarding my depression. I had infertility issues, so I continued the treatment in hopes to be able to be a mom in the future. It saddens me to say this, but I started the treatment almost at the same time I met him, so he has only known the saddest version of myself. It wasn't planned, it was just bad timing, I guess. Last November, one morning he unlocked his phone to shut down the alarm and his WhatsApp opened up showing he had an archived chat. I thought it was weird but didn't give much thought since we were literally waking up. Later in the day the feeling of uneasiness was too much. I used to work from home, so I checked his laptop and found some messages with a coworker where he was clearly flirting. The girl asked him if he had a girlfriend and he changed subject. Later in the conversation she asked if he was living with someone and he just answered he was living with a roommate. I couldn't find more than that since it was a chat from work, but there was definitely chemistry between them and I can only imagine they continued through text, otherwise he wouldn't have had that archive conversation. This was honest a shock to me. I thought everything was fine between us. I always thought if a boyfriend cheated on me I would have realized, but nothing really changed. His attitude was still as charming as always with me. Every day he was still the same loving and caring guy I fell in love with, so why? Why has he doing this? The feeling that he hid and denied me broke me. My anxiety got the best in me and I didn't wait for more proof, as I should have, and I texted him that we were done. I also texted her that she could have him. She apologized, saying she didn't know he had a girlfriend, moreover that he lived with me or that we had plans to marry. I then proceeded to put all his belongings in bags and cried myself to sleep for the whole day. When he arrived for his belongings he apologized and promised it wouldn't happen again. Silly me believed him and we started couples therapy. It was hard, but I firmly believed that we could work it out somehow. Fast forward to February, I was starting to feel like us again. I thought it was just a hard episode in the relationship but that we were over it. And then the 8th of March I received a message from that same girl. She said that she was a feminist and because it was Woman's Day she felt guilty to knowingly harm another woman. She then proceeded to send me absolutely all proof that I didn't ask for, all their conversations, screenshots, and pictures of presents he gave to her. She said that ever since she found out he was lying about having a girlfriend she stopped talking to him, but he persistently continued to search for her. All the holes that my anxiety created were suddenly filled with all the messages she sends me and made me realize that not even with the therapy and the false promises, nothing really changed. He just got better at hiding it. I quit my job, I grabbed all of my belongings and I moved to a different city because I knew that if I stayed there I would forgive him again. I knew that I loved him too much to say no to him. I stopped using the pills, since for me I had no reason to keep torturing myself for a future that will no longer be. Everything became a mess, that type of mess you have when you try to start over on a new place. All that time, he never stopped reaching out to me. I couldn't just block him because we had a joint bank accounts paying for the car we got together and other several adult expenses that I hate. But eventually I got through it. I now have a job. I also started in the beauty business putting nails as a side job and I have plans to study to be a veterinarian. I'm forcing myself to see a future even though every day I struggle with the urge of having 0 reasons to live. A few weeks ago he came to my house with a whole plan to win me back. Of course I agreed to meet with him. And he was a completely different man. I want to believe that living all alone and that he got promoted to a manager almost immediately after we broke up had a lot to do with it. He acted more mature and apologized again, but this time it seemed that he really means it. To be honest, it was like being on vacation with him. He took me to a lot of nice places that I didn't even knew existed even though I've been living here now for roughly 5 months. He did his homework. He said that this trip was in a way his last hope to win me back, but if he couldn't do it, he would accept and just close this chapter altogether. Unfortunately, all of my love is still there. I never stopped loving him and I don't hate him either, even if I try. The good things always win me over the bad. This trip made me fall in love with him all over again, but it's like I'm falling in love for a better version of a man that I'm just starting to know. And then, there's me, that has been stuck on the same loop of depression every day for the last couple of months. I put on my big girl pants and told him I couldn't go back with him because I know myself, and to be honest, I'm not sure if I'm ever going to be able to forgive him. We're trust again in his words. He said that he understands that he screw up and that he is willing to fight for me and wait for me all the time that I need to. A month already passed since that, and if he was nice with me before we broke up, now his attentions have multiplied. We somehow agreed to wait at least 3 years before we even remotely start to think on being together again, but in all honesty now it feels like we have a long-distance relationship without the tittle. I knew that I had to leave him cause otherwise he wouldn't change, and I can't stay living with someone that wanted someone else. I never wanted to leave him. I thought I found the one, but I set him free, if he was feeling so overwhelmed with our commitment and my mood swings. I gave him the freedom he was so looking for, so he could go and date all the women he wanted, so why? I never expected that he would keep looking for me. Why the change? Why now? I don't know what to do. I know I love him, but I don't know if my love for him will ever be enough to fix all the hurt and the tears and the messed up feeling that I have that I'm broken. I don't want to feel like this anymore, and I'm shitless scared that it will happen again. I don't have anyone to talk about it. I never knew loving someone deeply could hurt this much, and I'm lost. I know he's trying. I know he is changing and puts effort every day, but all the plans we had about marrying and children in a house, I don't see them anymore. A part of me does want to get over this and work towards the future with him. I just don't know how. I don't feel like I'll ever be able to love another person as deeply as him, but I don't know how to forgive him either. In a few months I'll turn 26 and I don't think I'll last 3 more years feeling this lost. Another big part of me truly just want to give up. If you came this far, thank you. I really just needed to write this down to help my feelings clear up a little. Story 2. I slept with a guy for the first time since my husband died. I am feeling very guilty about it. Part 1. I am literally cursed. I feel like the universe, or the gods, or whatever, are out to punish me. I just don't know what I did to deserve such a fate. I have loved 3 men in my life, and each one has made a poor choice that cost him his life. This has become a crippling fear for me now. I am only 31 years old, and I don't want to spend the rest of it alone, but I am so scared that something will happen to anyone I fall in love with. In the last 2 years since my husband, Michael, passed away, I haven't even thought about dating until just now. My therapist, Luna, has been helping me to overcome the fear of connecting again. Even with that though, I hadn't thought of pursuing any sort of romantic relationships. Then one just sort of fell into my lap. I recently went to a work conference. During my first session there was a very handsome man, David, and as luck would have it, we got paired off for an exercise. The chemistry was immediately there. We were laughing and talking like we had known each other forever. Of course, we had to switch partners after so long, but I made it a point to go talk to him again before moving to the next session. We ended up in the last session of the day together as well. That's where he asked me to go to dinner with him. The night was so much fun. We had several drinks, talked for hours, and at the end of the night I kissed him before going to my room. I spent the rest of the night in my room wishing I had asked him to come in. At the same time though, I was feeling anxious. The idea of falling for someone stressed me out. What if we fall in love? What if he does something stupid like the others and ends up dead? No, my therapist tells me that those things just happened. It wasn't because of me. There is no curse. I got almost no sleep that night, then overslept the next morning. I got out of bed and put myself together to a bare minimum. This made me not want to run into David at all the next day, but at the same time so badly want to run into him. I went the whole day looking and didn't once spot him amongst the crowd or in a session. As my last session was coming to a close, I was kicking myself for not just bringing him back to my room last night. The session ended and as I was leaving there was David. He had his hand extended towards me as I walked up. I took it and then we pulled in for a close hug. He said he asked around to figure out which session I was in and left early to meet me as I exited. I was swooning. We went to dinner again, and this time I invited him to my room, and I have to say, oh my God, it was amazing. Literally so passionate. The next day we exchanged information. We are a little bit apart location-wise, about 45 minutes drive. I was over the moon for about 2 days when I just hit this huge low. I felt guilty. I know my Michael is gone, but it just seems so fresh suddenly. Everyone keeps telling me I need to move on and get myself back out there. Now that I have done it, I feel so much shame. Maybe it was because I slept with him so quickly. Maybe it's just the reality of moving on. I need to see my therapist. I also might talk to my former sister-in-law and mother-in-law. They have been really supportive of me, and I've grown closer to them since he passed. They have both been telling me for the last year to start dating again. I guess that's what I'm doing. David and I are set to go out again this Friday. I haven't looked forward to anything this much in a long time. I want to sleep with him again too, I just can't shake the feeling that what I'm doing is too soon. Luckily, I saw Luna on Thursday. Part 2. Got a lot of comments on my last post and want to thank everyone for their opinions. I realize there is nothing really to feel guilty about. I am a single woman. He is a single man. My therapist was very happy to hear I was going out on a date. She helped reassure me there was nothing wrong with pursuing love again. I did talk to my MIL, Julie, and SIL, Christina, before my date Friday as well. They were over the moon when I told them about my date. It was weird and embarrassing when I also told them that I had already slept with David and they both emphatically went, yes. We had some girl talk and I was feeling really good about everything. The date was spectacular. He took me to the opening night of this new art gallery at the City Art Museum. It was so romantic. He is kind of an art history nerd, it was so cute listening to him point out little details in the paintings. Afterwards, we went back to his place and spent the night. The next day he asked me to spend the weekend with him. It was one of the best weekends I have ever had, and I'm seriously falling for this guy. We have been messaging, talking, and making up excuses to see each other for the last 2 weeks. We have been out to eat like 8 times, done 2 hikes, he took me to a gun range and I shot for the first time in my life, and I took him to get his first pedicure LOL. The best part is I am not having those intense feelings of guilt. I will always love my husband, but I think I've come to realize that I have to move on. I think these posts really helped me work through a lot of the feelings I was having. Part 3. Hi everyone, it has been a few weeks since I last updated. Things with David and I are still going strong. No real new news on that front other than we made it official, so I now get to call him my boyfriend. The reason for this post is twofold. I got a ton of people who inquired about what happened to the previous men in my life. It's not ever been something I have really talked about. Honestly, I've barely talked about it with my therapist, Luna. I still have a lot of trauma about all of it, because like I said in my first post, they all died because they made a bad choice. It's hard to come to terms with that when you know they should still be here. Anyway, Luna suggested that I post about them here. Tell my story. She said since posting about my struggles and moving on was so beneficial, maybe posting about this would be cathartic as well. I decided to take her advice. I think this will help me get some closure, answer the questions I got from so many inquiring minds LOL. This happened 15 years ago when I was 16. I had my first love with my boyfriend James. We had been together for 2 years at this point, and I know it sounds naive, and there were some rumors, but I knew we would get married someday. We were still stupid teenagers though. We liked to go to parties, drink, get it on in his car, all the things teens do. Well, this one friend of ours was a sort of typical spoiled rich girl. She hosted a pill party one night. We decided to go. It was stupid, but we had both used Adderall for fun before and thought it would be fun to do it again. The problem was he made a mistake. That night he ended up ingesting a large quantity of roofies. Being dumb teens, no one made the call to 911 until it was too late. 6 years later I was engaged to my college boyfriend, C. We had been engaged for a year. We were planning our wedding. This had caused some friction between us and CS thought a vacation would help take some of the stress off. It was on the 3rd day of our trip we decided to go hiking. It was a very beautiful trail that went around a cliffside. I did want to see over the edge of the cliff, so we got off the beaten path, and to the edge. This was all fine, but at this particular spot there was a rock that jutted out over the edge almost like an arrowhead pointing. C decided he wanted a picture of himself out over the edge. I told him I was not going to go out on that spot and it wasn't safe. He went anyway, and after taking his selfie, lost balance on the loose rocks at his feet and fell 40 feet below onto the jagged rocks below. I will never get that image out of my mind. 2 years ago is when I lost my husband. We were married just over a year after a 2-year-long engagement. We had been together a total of 6 years. We had bought a nice house with a pool just before our wedding. Everything was going well and we were debating some major life decisions. My husband loved to swim, and one of the first DIY projects he performed was installing underwater lights into the pool. He insisted on doing this himself. I told him he should use an electrician. One Saturday morning he went out for a swim. The lights had been left on overnight, and a stripped wire he missed electrified the pole. When he jumped in, it wasn't the electricity that killed him. The autopsy showed it was an electric shock drowning. The shock paralyzed his body and he was unable to get to the surface and drowned. I was the one to find him. I guess you can see why I feel cursed. I have to say it does feel good to finally say it out loud. I have been angry in the past because I feel each of these were avoidable, but I have forgiven them. And I am truly ready to move on. Part 4. Hi everybody, I haven't posted anything in a really long time, but David and I have been married for 2 years now. Things have been going great for the most part. He is still the perfect gentleman and spoils me. We are expecting our first child soon. I am 4 months along at this point. The pregnancy has been going smoothly so far, but I know I'm not even halfway yet. This is where we are having some friction though. I have always dreamed about being a stay-at-home mom. At least until all the kids get to school-aged. Then I could foresee getting a part-time job or something, but that's way down the road because I would like to have a big family. David doesn't really agree with this. He thinks that since his mother is retired, and more than willing to be our daytime babysitter, that our best choice is to both work. He keeps telling me that while we could live off of his salary, it would largely just be living. This is especially true, he says, if we have 3 or 4 kids like I want. He thinks utilizing his mom, and both of us working would allow for a lot of luxury in our lives. We would be able to go on larger vacations, and afford niceties that we won't have if it's just his income. I have proposed that he start looking for advancement in his field. He is doing fairly well, but he can keep climbing the ladder. Recently he told me about a position that opened that paid quite a bit more, but that he didn't want because it would mean more late night, some weekends, and increased travel. We had a bit of disagreement about this, as I think putting the extra now for our family will pay off in the long run. It is also important for children to be raised by their mother as much as possible. What do you think I should do to get David to see things the right way? I'm currently worried that he may make a poor choice. Part 5. It's been a very somber year and I need to vent. Outside of the celebration that was the birth of our daughter, Dana, it has been all turmoil. I am cursed. David lost his life because of a poor choice on his part. He was cleaning one of his guns, and I guess a round was still in the chamber. He thought he had emptied it and it went off. He was shot right in the face and died instantly. I was home sitting right next to him on our couch. I am just thankful that Dana was with her grandparents that night. That was 6 months ago and I am still trying to cope with the loss of yet another husband. I don't know why I am so cursed. They always make some poor choices and end up dead. It's just not fair. Why do I not deserve true lasting love? Why are they all taken from me but their own stupidity? That's not the worst of it though. About a month ago some people I have known for years were starting rumors. They were calling me some sort of black widow. I went and confronted them. They denied ever saying anything like that, but I think they were just trying to save face. Because right after they denied it they said that they just thought it was interesting that I have lost 2 husbands and a fiancé. I didn't know them back in high school, and I don't go around publicizing my heartache. I was so offended. I am the one grieving here. I am the one who now raises a daughter by myself. Yes, we got a substantial life insurance policy payout, but I had to quit my job, so we don't have any new income at this time. I just think it's really cruel to say things like this about me. Then things got even worse. I learned today from a very nice detective that the police have not closed the case on my husband's death. It was an accident. However, it seems a medical examiner has gotten involved in my husband's case. Now they have requested the files from both my first husband's case and my fiancé's case. I just don't know what to do. I know I need to get a lawyer just in case this thing turns into a witch hunt. I feel like I can't trust anyone, even my ex-mother-in-law Julie seems to be distancing herself from me. I just want to be happy, I just want the life I deserve. Part 6. I hired a lawyer. Many advised me to do so and it was the right call. My lawyer was very good as my husband's life insurance paid out a considerable sum. He had some ways of getting information from the police investigation before I was ever charged. This was life-saving. I don't know what I would have done if he hadn't. I still feel like I can't properly grieve the loss of my husband. The police investigation, and the sideways glances by those I used to call friends was all just too much. But then I was pushed even farther over the edge. My lawyer was able to find out what the prosecution and the police were holding. It was terrifying finding out. It was literally a witch hunt. The police are actively investigating each one of the tragedies I have had to endure. They were interviewing people from high school. Apparently searching through records they found that my dad's longtime girlfriend had a prescription for Rohypnol all those years ago. Then they were calling into question a large circular bruise that was on my fiancé's chest. I mean, he fell like 40 feet onto rocks, of course he has bruises. The note in the file had highlighted the medical report's note on a circular, fist-sized bruise on the chest. They didn't stop there though. They interviewed electricians and showed them some of the photos the police took after my first husband's death. I really couldn't believe it. They were actively investigating every horrible thing that has ever happened to me. They want to paint me as some sort of horrible murderer. I loved these men, they were taken from me. I don't know why these people would be so determined to destroy my life. The worst part was hearing the things they were saying about my David. This man is the father of my child. I would never ever do anything to hurt him. There was all of this detail on angles and gunshot residue. I explained to them so many times we had been shooting that day, we shot every week. Of course I had residue on my hands. As painful as all of that was, it was made worse by the collection of statements they have received from people I trusted. Old friends, work colleagues, even Julie and Christina who I love like family. All of these people seemed to have turned their back on me during my greatest time of need. My lawyer let me know that they would probably come forward with formal charges any time now. That's why I had to leave. It was very difficult leaving behind everything. Luckily with the remaining life insurance money, the quick sale of the house, and cashing out some investments I was able to open an account with the Caixa Geral de Depositos. It is a considerable amount and I now qualify for citizenship by investment. It'll be an adjustment for sure, but looking through a lot of their extradition laws it's unlikely I will be returned to the States. Plus, Aveiro is a gorgeous city with a lot of culture. I think Dana and I will be able to make a great life here far from those who want to hurt us. I just want to thank all of you who have shown your support and advised me, especially those of you I have gotten to know through DM. It's nice to know that people still look out for others, even though some people in the comments were less than generous. If I have any further developments I will definitely share them with you all. Until then I am just going to do my best to raise my daughter and help us both move on. Part 7. I am posting this today as my one and only attempt to tell my side of the story. The things being said about me in the media are untrue. They are slanderous and deliberately misleading. All I want to accomplish with this post is to let everyone know what the truth really is. Yes, it was my idea to go to the pill party back in high school, and yes I was aware that my boyfriend had cheated on me. I did not break up with him before the party because I did not want it to be awkward. We had all the same friends. I figured I could suck it up so that the party could be enjoyed without drama. The recent, true crime episode, about my case also made a huge deal about my dad's girlfriend being the only parent with a Rohypnol prescription. That doesn't mean that is the only place those pills could come from. One of the others could have very well had an aunt, uncle, mom's BFF that brought that. The second thing I want to address is the motives that all of these so-called investigators are focused on. They all want to paint me as some sort of shallow, self-obsessed woman. They are doing shoddy police work and thus have to make up a reason this happened. These were all accidents. Yes, I wanted to have a big wedding, CS wanted to have a small destination wedding. Same thing with Michael. Yes, I wanted kids right away, he wanted to wait 5 years. These are things couples talk about and discuss. I did not murder them because they didn't agree with me. If I killed everyone that disagreed with me I would have killed thousands of people by now. The most ridiculous part of the whole episode was the electrician they had look at the photos of the wiring to the lights. Why the police photographer even took the time to take these photos makes me think they wanted this to be ruled a homicide. Him talking about how some parts of the job look really good but where the short in the wire was seemed hasty and reckless, as if someone tampered with it. That part was a total joke. First off, of course the part that went wrong is going to look wrong, why are you saying that like it is some sort of gotcha? Secondly, I have absolutely no background in any construction field, I rarely ever pump my own gas. Yet, these people think I could manage to correctly sabotage a pole so that it becomes electrified. If I even began to mess with electrical wires, the most likely outcome would be me electrifying myself. I understand that for someone this kind of thing happens 4 times, it can raise some eyebrows. But that doesn't mean it just becomes true. You have to look at the evidence, actual evidence. I feel like all of these people have come to a conclusion, and are now looking for evidence that supports their crazy conclusion, while at the same time, ignoring everything that doesn't. The most painful part of all of it was watching the interviews. Especially those by Julie and Christina. I thought of them as my real mom and sister. For them to buy into what the investigators are saying was very hard. I hope at some point they see reason and understand that this is nothing more than a witch hunt. I'd be more than happy to make amends at that point. I'm going to leave it all at that. Dana and I are doing wonderful here in Portugal. I have been seeing a nice local man here in Aveiro for the past few months. He is very family-oriented. Which is good, because Dana and I deserve someone who puts us first, and who doesn't make poor choices. Part 8. Since the news is reporting on what happened this past week, I felt I needed to respond. Julie, my once beloved mother-in-law, did make an attempt on my life. I was out shopping with my new husband, Gustavo. Yes, I have gotten married since my last update. We were just browsing some stores, when suddenly it felt like the air was taken out of me. I gasped momentarily, unable to speak. Julie had stabbed me in the back, literally. The pain was like nothing I have ever felt. I turned in a moment, and when I faced her, she looked deranged. She pulled her hand up to stab at me again, and then suddenly froze, noticing my 7 months pregnant belly. That pause was all that was needed, as Gustavo had not been far and upon seeing the love of his life, an unborn child in danger, launched himself upon her. He managed to stop her but did take a nasty cut himself. I was rushed to the hospital by emergency services. I was very lucky as she missed hitting anything vital. I am back at home surrounded by family. Julie was not so lucky. Gustavo's heroic leap into harm's way knocked her to the ground. She hit her head very hard and is now in a coma. I have been assured by authorities that should she recover she will be arrested for attempted murder. This whole ordeal has just been truly traumatizing. Just more pain on my already pain-laden life. The worst part is I truly loved this woman as a mother. She was my rock for many years after the passing of my first husband, her son. This is what happens when lies are allowed to perpetuate. The journalists and prosecutors that have led this slanderous and heinous campaign against me all these years obviously got to Julie. She would have never done this to me if not for their endless lies and twisted realities. I'm sorry, Julie, I'm sorry you were misguided. I never hurt your son or anyone else. They made their choices, and it cost them. These things happen. This will be the last time I ever post. I am moving on. I have a very wide extended family now that fully supports Dana and I. My husband Gustavo is perfect in every way, and treats me like a queen. I could not be happier. I finally found a man that completely understands. Happy wife, happy life. Story 3, Mom is cheating. I don't know what to do. My mother is cheating on my father, I know it. It is online, but it's the same, right? To me it's the same. How could she do that when she has 4 children? The first time I caught her, I was alone at home and opened Facebook. It turned out her account was still in my phone, but I didn't notice right away, so I opened that inbox and saw her chat with an old Frenchman. I couldn't help but read bits of their chat. It made me sick. I was angry, I hated it. I know it wasn't the smartest thing to do, but I immediately cursed the man through her account, told him to stop messaging my mom and that she had children, etc. I should have thought twice. She saw it as she was online on her side, and yeah, I freaked out. When she got home I told her I was mad, and she said I shouldn't have done that and that she was just playing with him and that he was a bit crazy and I was wrong for cursing him. I blocked him also. She knew I was angry. The thing is, I know she's still talking with him, and it kinda hurts now that I'm trying to tell about it. I know my father and my mother don't love each other anymore. I see it, it's often shitty between them. Once, my father discovered her chat with that man. That time they almost divorced, but yeah. I was really sad for my father and mad at mom. I told her about a month ago, as a joke, "Are you chatting, man?" Even though I knew she was. She said she blocked him long ago, since the big issue at home. I knew she was lying. She keeps deleting their chat and it's really obvious she's hiding things. I caught his notifications more than once. Every time I see her on her phone, I can't help but think she's talking to him again. I know she is. I often catch a glimpse of their chat when she thinks I can't. She's cheating on Dad, on us. She's happier talking with him. She's always so irritated at home, always mad at Dad, always mumbling about how annoying things are. I know she loves us, she does so many things for us. But sometimes I can't help but think she would rather be with him. I want to tell her how mad I am and how unfair she is, but I know what it's like to like someone. I don't want her to be mad. I don't want to create tension between her and I don't want to make her sad, all of that. I can't tell her it hurts me. I don't know why. The worst is, I know her sisters are on it too. I don't know what it is with those old French men. They think they hide it well, but I know about it all. I have so much things to say, but at the same time I'm just disappointed, hurt and disgusted, but I don't have the guts to face Mom about it. Story 4. How bad it is. We were together 4 years and married 2. I just found a text with another woman this week. We each have a teen from a previous relationship. Everything was great, or so I blindly believed. Just a stream of consciousness I needed to get out. Tie for reading. I need to know how bad it was so I can leave and not look back. He lied. He lied for over 4 years to me. Were they really sporadic contacts with this woman, or was it all the time? Was it really just texts, like the one I found Tuesday saved as a screenshot in his Google Photos? Or was it talking on the phone too? How often was it? When did they happen? All day, all night, on my birthday and holidays with our family. Was it ever in person? I want so badly to see the phone records. So I can see when they talked, when they texted. While he was so busy at work. When I was asleep in bed and he stayed up with his son or to watch a movie. When he was skating with the guys. I need to see his bank and credit card statements. I want to see if he was paying her. Is she an model selling him content like the text sounded, or is she actually a random woman he met on Instagram like he said? Does it matter? Was he buying her things? Was he taking her out? Was he telling her she's beautiful, she's sexy, that he loved her? If I find these answers, what will it change? I'll know. I'll know the depths of his betrayal. And I'll be able to decide if it's something I can live with. If it's something I can forgive. If it's something we can move past. Judging by him continuing to hide these things, judging by his words, there is no coming back from this, there is more I don't know yet. What was once just one text, has now turned into sporadic texting. What was once, I don't know her, is now, I've known her for years, since before we met. I can't seem to get a straight answer from him, I can't get the truth. Where there's smoke there's fire and he's trying to make sure I stay blinded by the smoke. There's things I don't know and it is eating away at me. It's killing me. It's punching me in my gut over and over and over again each time I figure out more. I just want it all out in the open so I know. I need to know how fucked this all really is. I need to know it's the right decision to make him leave, a week before Christmas. I need to rip the fucking band-aid off so I can decide on a path forward. I deserve so much more than this. The man I married is a liar. The man I married doesn't respect me or our marriage. I don't know this man. I don't understand how he could do this to me and to us. We were so happy. I thought we were so happy. His inability to see any of this is maddening. He lost everything, he keeps saying. He has nowhere to go. What the fuck did he expect would happen if I discovered his lies? Did he ever even consider it? Did he ever even think of the effect on me, on our kids, on our future? He really just assumed I would never find out. What a goddamned fucking piece of shit you have to be to put a good woman like me through this. And he expects me to care, to have sympathy or pity, that he's lost it all. His home, his comfort, his stability, his family, his friends, his life, me. He wants me to feel badly for him. It fucking boggles my mind that he thinks he deserves an ounce of my care, of my concern, of my respect at this time. I may not know it all. I may not even know how to breathe right now. But be damned sure I'll figure it the fuck out. Story 5. I lost my V-card to a 37-year-old woman, and now a 14-year-old girl has reached out to me claiming I'm her father. Part 1. It has been a weird couple of days for me and I need to get this off my chest. This all started on Friday when I got a Facebook message from an old colleague telling me my daughter was trying to get in contact with me. I hadn't heard from this person in years so I was skeptical at first but I decided to hear them out. The girl in question has recently lost her mother to cancer, and the man who she thought was her father turned around and told her she wasn't his and kicked her out. She moved in with her uncle thankfully, but ever since she's been looking for a real dad. Anyways, around 15 years ago I was a naive young man barely in my 20s working in a supermarket. When I started I was buddied up with a 37-year-old woman who was drop-dead gorgeous. Like I said, I was rather naive, so obviously I instantly became infatuated with her easygoing and tactile demeanor. Sadly, only a month after I started that job she handed in her notice, and that spurred me to go for it and ask her out on a date. She laughed and agreed, and so started the wildest 3 months of my life. I won't go into details, but we were intimate on a handful of occasions, and I even stupidly confessed my love to her, but it was then she told me she was moving away to be with her fiancé, which left me absolutely heartbroken. Later a colleague would tell me that she was also seeing a guy who worked on the checkouts at the same time she was seeing me. Back to the present day, and I had all but forgotten about it. I have 2 kids and a very pregnant wife to think about after all, so this has somewhat knocked me sideways. I feel for the kid having her whole world torn apart so abruptly, but the thing is I don't think I'm her father. Though I was young and foolish, I always used protection, but there is a part of me that hopes I am, as I can provide the loving family that she is so desperately looking for. I haven't told my wife yet because she is 8 months pregnant with our 3rd child and has enough to worry about, but I have arranged a paternity test. Another thought that crossed my mind that she is contacting me first because I am the better prospect, as I went on to bigger and better things while the other guy still works on the checkouts at the same store 15 years later, and from what I've been told has a bit of a problem with alcohol. I'm also angry at the men who raised her, playing dad all those years only to callously abandon her when she needed him the most. I'm also angry and sad that I might have missed out on so much of my potential daughter's childhood. The wife knows something's up, so I think I'm going to bite the bullet and tell her. I just had to get this off my chest. Update. Wow, I didn't expect this to blow up so much. I have an update on the situation, so I sat my wife down and told her everything this morning like most of you have been suggesting. After giving me a severe tongue lashing for not telling her sooner, my wife said probably the most sensible thing I've heard, which is I should try and contact the girl's uncle to verify her story, and boy am I glad I did. You see, I had made one fatal assumption, which was that the stepfather was the same person as the fiancé. Turns out checkout guy found out about the baby and claimed she was his. The fiancé broke things off after finding out about her infidelity and decided to move abroad. Checkout guy got a paternity test when the girl was born, and he wasn't the father, but he only did it to try and get back together with her, which obviously failed miserably. The stepfather didn't come along until a year or 2 later after the girl was born. He's been having a hard time dealing with the death of his wife, and after a particularly bad argument decided the best thing was for the girl to go and stay with her uncle, who is an absolutely lovely guy and actually remembered me even though I had only met him briefly in the past. Anyway, she is happy and safe at her uncle's. It's close to her school and she gets on well with her cousins. The crazy thing is that they weren't actually looking for me. I just happened to have the same first name as the fiancé. The young lady jumped the gun in getting in contact with me, but they are 99% sure that the fiancé is her father. This is when my wife made another sensible suggestion. God, I love that woman so much, and asked for the girl's birthday so we can match up the dates, and they don't quite match up, but I'm still going through with the paternity test just in case. The thing is, now I have to put up with the odd rendition of Billie Jean for my beloved, which is probably going to last a few weeks before it gets old. I should explain why I didn't immediately tell my wife about this. You see, I was just panicking about the whole situation, and though she is a caring and understanding woman, she can be rather ferocious. Needless to say, I try not to find myself on the sharp end of her tongue. Also, she is 8 months pregnant and it has been a difficult pregnancy for her, and I didn't want to add any extra stress, but as many of you have pointed out, it would have only been worse if I had not said anything. Part 2. Though I'd do a fresh post since the other one was getting quite long. For those who haven't read my first one, the title pretty much sums it up, and I left it waiting for the results of the paternity test, but it didn't look very likely. Well, the results are in. First though, I want to tell you guys about something that happened on Thursday. I was minding my own business cooking the kids' dinner when my wife starts calling my name and telling me to come quick. I rush into the living room and she's flapping her arms like a madwoman and pointing at her phone. "Your story's on TikTok," she yells excitedly. F my life, that woman nearly gave me a heart attack. I was shitting a brick thinking that her waters had broken early, so thanks for that. Right, so back to the results, and I am not the father. I know some of you have said I should adopt her anyway, but personally I think that would be highly inappropriate. Also, one critical point I forgot to mention is that I actually live in Norway and she is in the UK, so it wouldn't be practical. However, that isn't the end of the story, far from it in fact, because even though I am not her father, we have enough common DNA to be fairly close cousins. This was when it hit me. Cousin Jeff, not his real name. Cousin Jeff, the son of my dad's oldest brother and is 12 years my senior, and incidentally my wife's stepbrother. He had found out about me and the ex after bumping into us on a night out and promptly told my entire family just to embarrass me. Needless to say, he is a massive dick. Anyway, around the time I was moping around after getting my heart broken, Jeff was making lots of cryptic remarks about sloppy seconds, his words, not mine. I didn't think anything of it at the time because he always enjoyed winding me up and had only been married to his now ex-wife for around 18 months, but now I'm not sure. Jeff has twin daughters in their early 20s who are on good terms with my wife, so we reached out to them first since they know how to handle him. They said they would get him to do a DNA test even if they had to resort to bully him into it, but as of this moment that's as far as we know. As for the young lady who contacted me, my wife has been in contact with her every day and has been super supportive. We get on really well with her uncle and his wife, so she may not have found the father she was expecting, but she has found a load of cousins that will welcome her into the family with open arms. I just want to thank everyone who has taken the time to read my posts and send me such supportive messages. Also, I want to apologize if anything sounded a bit odd, since despite being from the UK, I've lived in Norway for nearly 10 years now and I sometimes forget how to speak English, which is weird. And finally, I think everyone is being a bit harsh on the stepfather, and to be honest, I was in my initial post for sending the girl to live with her uncle. He isn't coping after the death of his wife but saw that he was just hurting his stepdaughter, so he sent her away so she didn't have to be around it. From what I've been told, they're going to therapy and hope to mend their relationship, and I wish him all the best because even though he isn't her dad by blood, he's the only dad she's ever known. Story 6, struggling to trust my fiancé after he deleted messages with a coworker. How do I move forward? Hi everyone, my fiancé, male, 27, and I, female, 25, have been together for 4 years and recently got engaged. He's an amazing partner in many ways, but I've been struggling with trust issues, which makes it hard to feel secure and excited about our future. Some background: we discussed boundaries over a year ago, and I made it clear I'm not okay with forming close, non-work-related relationships with co-workers of the opposite sex. My reasoning is that emotional connections can unintentionally develop, and I avoid those situations myself as a sign of respect for our relationship. He agreed with this. Back in April, he casually told me he was playing video games with a female coworker, let's call her Sarah, whom he also added on social media. I felt betrayed because we had talked about our boundaries before. When I told him how I felt, he got defensive, saying, "She's ugly, it's just video games." I called him out for attacking her looks when it was his fault for initiating. He later apologized and removed her from socials without me asking, but I still felt hurt and disrespected. We had a long conversation where I poured my heart out to him and he seemed very apologetic. I explained that I need him to think about my feelings before doing something that could hurt me and to respect boundaries without me having to constantly reinforce them. He said that he would take the responsibility to figure out a way to rebuild trust, but never really brought it up again. The next couple of months were really good and he was hinting that he would propose soon. After we got engaged recently, we went on an anniversary trip a week later. On the last day, he got an Instagram message from Sarah about career advice. He showed it to me, but parts of the convo were deleted. When I asked why, he said he didn't want to upset me and ruin the trip. While the message seemed professional, it brought back all my doubts. I said I needed some space, so he went out for a bit and came back with an apology letter on how much he loves, swore that it was just a dumb decision and nothing happened between them. He seemed genuinely remorseful, so I accepted his apology and tried my best to move on. Unfortunately, it's been a few weeks and I'm still struggling. I love him, but I feel disrespected and tired of being the one to initiate conversations about trust and boundaries. These incidents make me question if he truly understands how important this is to me. I also haven't been able to feel excited about being engaged since. This excitement only lasted about a week until the second incident happened. How do I bring this up again without feeling like I'm repeating myself? Any thoughts on how to move forward? I really want to make this relationship work since he's always going above and beyond for me, but I just feel so stuck with this situation. Story 7, my ex-husband is trying to steal my family. How to proceed? My ex-husband, Jason, is trying to take my place in my family. For some background, Jason and I broke up almost 4 years ago due to abuse in the relationship on his part. After we broke up, he remained in contact with my family, doing things like coming around for family dinners and joining us during holidays. A few months after our breakup, we still lived together as we had a lease. However, as soon as I could, I not only left my house but moved to a whole new country to get away from the situation. I was able to land a great job overseas. Since then he continued to get closer and closer with my family. I tried not to let it bother me, but it did. This weekend everything came to a head when he decided to introduce his new girlfriend to my family. He is trying to bring her around them so she will be welcome in their house. I tried telling my family how uncomfortable this makes me feel. I told them not only is he my abusive ex-husband but he is not their son. I really want them to support me and recognize how badly Jason hurt me during our marriage. They told me I'm being dramatic and to get over it. I have put up with so much in terms of them keeping a relationship with him. However, the fact that Jason's new girlfriend, who is 21 by the way, will be spending more time with my family than me is infuriating. I'm not sure what I can do to have my point come across for them to realize this isn't appropriate. If they want to have a connection with Jason, I won't stop them, but basically having him around as family has really pushed the limit for me. Any ideas on what I can do about this situation? It's ruining my holiday season knowing this random woman and my ex will be spending Christmas with my family and I will not be. Also to clarify, I have absolutely no romantic feelings for Jason. The reason him bringing his new girlfriend around irritates me is because I feel like that's something you do with your own family. From what I've heard, Jason's family hasn't even met his girlfriend yet, but my family has. I can add additional calcification if needed. Thank you all in advance. Update. I told my mom that I'm going to cut contact for a while. She responded. Wow. I am so confused. What is all the dilemma about? I feel that you're basically saying that we are not allowed to have people over our house if it is not approved by you or your sister. That is wrong. I could see if you were here and they came over. I recommend you put some thought into it. We love you. I'm going to leave her unblocked for the next few hours so I can express in detail the exact problem, but by tomorrow I will be blocking them all. I really appreciate all of the advice. I don't know how I never realized how bad it was until now. Story 8. Should I tell my mom I'm uncomfortable with her sleeping with strangers? I, male, 25, am feeling very disgusted and uncomfortable lately in my house. Every weekend since 5 years ago my mom, 46, goes out clubbing, drives back most likely drunk, gets here around 5 a.m. with a man and has sex with him in the next room. We don't have a lot of money so we live in a very small house. I hear everything in our beds are sticking to the same wall, in different rooms, so I feel movement sometimes too. As if this wasn't enough, she keeps them around all day until they decide to leave and as me meet them since she gets upset if I'm rude and don't say hello to people. She usually has one partner until she finds out there is a reason why these old us losers are single, which sometimes means trouble, and then I have to defend her since she has nobody else, except my brother who is only 15, probably affected by her behavior too, even though he seems to find nothing weird about it. Even if she has one consistent partner, she still brings other men sometimes. I don't know how to feel about this. Her personal life is very much not my business, but I can't help feeling grossed out. This has been a very conservative Christian household until my dad passed away 8 years ago. I knew nothing about that sort of lifestyle or habits. My mom had never behaved anything like she does now. She drinks and smokes, swears, posts thirst traps, basically a whole different person, so the cognitive dissonance hit me hard. It feels like not only did I lose my dad but my mom too, and this version of her is making me want to get swallowed by the earth. Believe me, in all these years I would have moved out if it was a possibility, but the economical situation is really bad, so I don't see it happening soon, but I'm working on it. I don't know what to do. I feel so guilty saying anything because this is her house and she covers a bigger part of the expenses. I just want to rest in my house after a long week and not have to go through that every weekend. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give a like, share it with someone, and subscribe for more stories that inspire, provoke, and connect us. Thank you.